Hello friends, welcome to another reel by Bharat Raghu. Today we would be looking at some of the great historical personalities and their contributions who were born this week. November 11th was the birth anniversary of Maulana Azad, and this is one of a very good autobiography of Maulana Azad, India Wins Freedom, where Maulana Azad talks about from the time he became Congress president to the Crips mission to what happened during partition and what happens after he becomes the education minister. He becomes basically the India's first education minister in Nehru's cabinet, of course, and he also is the main bulwark against Jinnah. We need to understand Maulana Azad is a very important figure, and he was the main Indian voice, and especially within the Congress, who was opposing Jinnah. So he was the strongest voice against the two nation theory, and he wanted a united India. So let's just understand Maulana Azad's contribution. That's one. We look at Jawaharlal Nehru, of course, India's first prime minister and arguably India's greatest prime minister till date. And he laid the foundations. Of course, Discovery of India, as all of us have read, is a huge history corpus starting from the Indus Valley civilization to the early Indian history, the epics, and then goes on to talk about the Mauryan history, talks about the initial Islamic history, and then it goes on. I mean, it's a corpus. If anyone wants to learn history, Discovery of India is the best book, and Bharat Ek Khoj, as we used to watch when we were young, is a it was a very good depiction of Indian history. Okay, so Nehru becomes India's first prime minister, and he goes on to form. He wanted India to be a modern scientific nation. So he wanted India to be in line with Soviet Union. So he wanted the 5 year plans. He built the dams. He built the public sectors. He laid foundation of all the defense research, the space research, the major educational institutions, IITs, IIM. So basically, practically any institution or any major sector which is there in India, a public sector was laid, the foundation was laid by Nehru, and that's where his immense contribution of 15 years is. And no anyone who tries to belittle or delimit Nehru's contributions doesn't probably understand world history or Indian history at that point of time. Okay, so let's look at some of them, some of the experts. Of course, we have been continuously research. We have been researching on Subhash Bose. This is another book, Call of the Motherland. These are collected works of Subhash Bose. So whatever Subhash Bose used to say in speeches and writings, there's a Netaji Research Bureau headed by Sisir Bose and Sugata Bose, the Bose family, and there are a lot of such books, collected works. So this is another interesting book we'll be looking at. Okay, so India Wins Freedom. So in this, there's a very interesting page of where Maulana Azad talks about Subhash Chandra Bose. So he actually goes on to say how Gandhiji's opinion actually changed about Bose. So this is in the chapter number 3 where he says, I became Congress president. So where he talks about by the time Bose had already left India and escaped. So what he says that I also saw that Subhash Bose's escape to Germany had made a great impression on Gandhiji. He had not formally approved many of his actions, but now I found a change in his outlook. Many of his remarks convinced me that he admired the courage and resourcefulness Subhash Bose had displayed in making his escape from India. His admiration for Subhash Bose unconsciously colored his view about the entire war situation. So he actually goes on to say that Gandhiji did not actually clearly understand what's going to happen with the war. So he did not express his opinion about the outcome of the war in clear-cut terms. But I felt, but in discussions with him, I felt he was becoming more and more doubtful about the Allied victory. Meaning, the sure shot. By the time 1942 comes in the World War, 42, 43, the war is not going well for Britain. Germany has already conquered most of Central Europe, and before it actually goes on to fight against the Soviet Union, which was its fatal mistake, Germany and Hitler's fatal mistake. Till then, Hitler and Germany were winning the war. So this is in that context where Maulana Azad says that Gandhiji was now more and more thinking that probably it will be the Axis victory, and in that he felt Subhash Bose's contribution, that he went to Germany, had a huge, it could be of huge bearing. So his entire outlook changed, and he started admiring Bose. This is one of the experts from Maulana Azad's book. Call of the Motherland. This is, we have been reading Subhash Bose's things. So in this, there's a very interesting, so that we understand Subhash Bose's, what was his, so he talks about the entire civilization in this chapter, and he actually says that how, basically, he gives an example of Deshbandhu. Deshbandhu was his basically guru, mentor. He was the greatest leader of Bengal at that time, Deshbandhu. So he actually says that the Deshbandhu actually felt that it's not just respecting the other religion. So Deshbandhu was a Vaishnavite, like very much like Gandhi, and he wanted to basically that you have to love the other religion. You have to love Islam. So there was no greater friend to Islam than Deshbandhu in India. There was no greater Hindu leader who was a friend of Islam than Deshbandhu, is what Subhash Bose says in this. And what he says is it's about cultural synthesis. So it's the Hindu Muslim on the Hindu Muslim is a question, and it's a question of cultural synthesis. So he's moving towards a very secular outlook, Bose, not an outlook very similar to probably Nehru. Nehru's secularism is more the church and the state being separate kind of secularism, like in Europe, like in Western Europe. But Bose's secularism is actually more closer to Gandhi, because Bose is spiritual. Bose has been is very much into the Vedic Vedanta philosophy. So, but with that lens, he is also saying that we need to understand the other religion, and you need to love the other religion and bring a cultural synthesis between them. So these are, and Nehru's, of course, these are some of the thoughts of India's greatest leaders. Bose, Nehru and Azad formed the left of the Congress. They formed the left of the Congress, and this went on to then define India. So hope you like this reel. Bharat Raghu signing off.